Welcome to Trauma-Informed Yoga with Kaila. This is time to relax and reconnect with your body. I hope you enjoy your practice. If you are loving these videos, make sure you subscribe to our channel. Welcome to our trauma-informed yoga practice here tonight. Tonight we're going to be working through opening ourselves up and removing that opposition that sometimes we have for ourselves. We'll talk about this a little bit further as we get a little bit deeper into class. So thank you so much for joining me. Please feel free to start lying on your back. So we're going to just start with some soft bent knees. Allow our knees to knock inward, our hands to fall onto our belly, and allow our breathing to just find that rhythm. Whatever that rhythm is. So we're not controlling it, we're just beginning to tune inwards. You see, often in life we spend so much time with our outward focus, focusing on everything around us, that we very often forget to start to begin to focus inwards. And with that outward projection all the time, we tend to start to become within our own opposition, really. I mean, we start to do things not out of a need for ourselves, but out of a need maybe or a necessity for our life, or for what we feel others might want or need, rather than doing things rhythmically for ourselves. And when we start to do things rhythmically for ourselves, we begin to take back the control within our life and empower ourselves. We start to notice that things just start to easily happen in our life. That rhythm just finds itself, rather than always feeling like you're going and there's no ability to stop. So let's find that rhythm in our breath and just be here in this very moment here with our breath, breathing. Let's take our left hand to our belly, our right hand to our upper chest. And just noticing the energy between your hands. Beginning that deep, rhythmic belly breathing. Feeling the flow, that rhythm, that flow of energy through your body as you breathe. Can you feel yourself draw that breath deep into your belly? Can you feel it as your chest rises? Noticing your breath start to deepen. Maybe it lengthens a little. Seeing how long we can make our inhales and exhales. They're long, slow. Starting to find that calming sensation here. And take that left hand up to our forehead. Just beginning to find that energy between your right and left hand. Seeing if you can breathe into that space into your forehead. Drawing our awareness into our body, into our breath, into this moment. Just being open to the possibility of being in the present and feeling whatever it is that our bodies need to feel. And sometimes we become so disconnected from our bodies that we don't know what they're trying to feel or need to feel. And our ego mind gets in the way, and it begins to chatter maybe a little, and it starts to talk to us about, well, what do I need to be feeling? I don't feel anything, right? Do you ever hear that ego mind begin to have that kind of chatter? And maybe you soften that ego mind and just focus on your breath. I'm not here to force any feeling or emotion or anything like that. We're here to just simply be in the moment, find our breath, and experience the practice, right? Experience whatever it is that we need to within this moment. There's no right, there's no wrong, there's no good, there's no bad. There's just now. It just is. So we're going to begin to find some flowing breath. We're going to take our arms, expanding them out nice and wide. And as we exhale, we're going to cross one arm over the other. Give yourself a nice little hug. inhale, opening. And as we exhale, we're going to crisscross the other side over this time. Give yourself a little hug. So finding that flow, inhales and exhales, giving yourself that hug each time. You got it. Inhale, exhale. Finding that rhythm. Now, if you want to add a little bit more motion and a little bit more rhythm, you can begin to open and close your knees if that feels okay to you. You don't have to. This is an option. We're just adding a little bit more motion with that breath. And you're going at the speed of your own breath. So it could be fast, it could be slow. It's totally up to you. But finding that rhythm that fits well with you here on your mat. Noticing that these embraces, they just tend to get tighter. You give yourself that little bit more of a squeeze. Your brain doesn't know the difference between an embrace from a friend or a family member or an embrace from yourself. We create the same feel-good endorphins, whether it's somebody else or we're giving ourselves that hug. So let's create those feel-good endorphins and just allow them to fill our body here as we warm up. Let's do 2 more. Wonderful. We're going to roll onto one side. And we're going to come into a fetal pose position. So we want to have our one arm underneath our head and our knees are stacked forward. We're going to inhale, that top arm opens, drawing it all the way around. Exhale, coming back up. So we're just beginning to find that motion, that rhythm in that upper thoracic spine, in that upper rib cage. Can you find that twisting motion using your own breath? Pausing at the end for a second. Pause as long as you need to. We're just beginning to find that motion here. You've got it. Let's do 2 more. Good. Take a moment. Check in with your body, noticing how you're feeling. And let's roll over. Let's do the other side. So I'm going to flip all the way over so that I can see you and you can see me. Okay. Here we are. One elbow down. We're in that fetal position. Knees are bent. And let's inhale, open all the way. Oh, that feels good. I don't know about you, but my back just gave me a little crack. It felt really nice. So using that breath to guide you. So part of not being in opposition with ourselves is practicing that grace to ourselves, doing whatever it is that we need to do. So if we feel that need to, maybe we just need a little bit of extra rest, we allow ourselves that extra rest in our practice. That could be extra rest in your life, right? So opposition to yourself can look different for many people. For someone that might mean maybe you need to go to the washroom and you hold it because you're trying to finish doing something. Or for somebody else, maybe it's not saying something that you feel like you need to say, right? We're in that opposition to ourselves. For another person, maybe it's, not taking that rest when your body needs that rest. Let's do 1 more here. So just for today, in this practice, in this moment, I'm just asking you to not be in opposition to yourselves and to listen to yourselves, to listen to your body and the messaging that your body is giving you. We don't have to be on point at every moment of every day. Sometimes just taking that opportunity to surrender to ourselves, to surrender to the moment, right? To be here in the present moment where there's no stress, there's no pain, there's no sadness. There just is. When you surrender to what is right here, right now, we find peace. We find joy. We find gratitude, happiness. all of these things that we spend so much of our daily lives pursuing. Rather than constantly going on a pursuit, maybe we just stop, smell the flowers, so to speak. Let's roll over, coming onto all fours. Knees stacking underneath your hips, hands stacking underneath your shoulders. We're going to begin to come into our cat-cow. So let's take a nice deep inhale, rolling those shoulders down and back. Exhale, pressing everything up, all 5 fingers into that cat. Inhale, dropping those shoulders down into the spine, arching that back, lifting through heart center, belly pulls away from your mat. Exhale, rounding, pressing, lifting. Now seeing if you can find your own rhythm in your inhales and exhales. What is your way of doing your cat-cows? What feels good in your body? So just beginning to play with the rhythm of your cat-cow that feels good in your body. Use your own breath to guide you here. You got it. Let's do 2 more full breaths. Wonderful. Let's curl our toes under, press it back, downward facing dog. So in our down dog, we always have that option to be in puppy, with our bum high, hands planted onto our mat. Completely up to you if you'd rather be in puppy. This is your practice. Now, from down dog, we're going to take those feet out wider than your mat. So a foot on either side of your mat. We call this wide stance down dog. Sometimes this feels a little bit nicer within our body and within our space here. So just seeing how that feels, and let's play with it. Can you take that dog for a walk? Right, our wide stance down dog. Can you inhale forward into a plank in your down dog? Pressing back, downward facing dog. So let's do 2 more, just like that. Inhaling into your plank. Exhale, press it back. Inhale. Exhale. Now let's do a whole flow. Inhale forward into plank. Option to drop down to your knees. Totally an option. This is your practice. Exhale, elbows to your sides, coming down. Wide stance crocodile. Inhale, feet come together. Let's come up. Cobra. So if snakes don't have arms, we're not pressing into our hands. We're just lifting with that back strength. Can you take those feet wide, bend through the knees, press it back, wide stance, downward facing dog. Whew. Let's do that again. Inhale forward into plank. Option to drop your knees. Exhale, elbows to your sides, crocodile. Inhale, lifting, cobra. Exhale, feet out nice and wide. Press it back, downward facing dog. Take a moment, breathe. Starting to feel warm in our yoga practice, really connecting with our body, with the movement. Let's lift our right leg up high towards the sky. Let's step it on through. You should have a wide stance lunge, and let's drop that back knee. So you have a nice wide lunge here. So our feet are much wider than they normally would be. You'll notice my knee is on the outside of my mat and the other foot is on the outside of my mat. I'm getting a different stretch through my pelvic region, through my groin region, and into, we're going to call that up, that lower psoas line, right? That lower psoas muscle. So if we begin to just bounce in this posture, what you're going to notice is your inner thigh and your quad start to fatigue of the top bent leg, and then you'll notice that your hip flexor begins to kind of fatigue a little here. So we call that poking the tiger a little. So let's poke that tiger and let's press back through that front leg just a little bit. So we're not fully lunged forward. We're not back in a proposing position. We're just a little bit here. I know I have wide pants on today, so it's harder to see where my feet are placed, but we're pushing back just a little bit, and we're going to tuck that lower pelvis down and under, lift that same arm as that leg that's back up high towards the sky, and if you want, maybe even up and over a little bit. And what you're going to notice is we begin to stretch through that hip flexor, through that knee, and all the way up through that upper psoas line. Feels good, hey? Getting that nice, beautiful stretch here. Beautiful. Take that top arm, bring it around behind you, and we're going to just twist. We're going to grab two hands behind your back, and we're just going to drop them down, and we're going to twist towards that front knee. So twisting towards it. We're just going to get a little bit of that twist through that lower pelvis, and that bottom hand kind of creates a little bit of pressure on the glute. So you're going to kind of push a little bit on that glute, just creating that little bit of pressure. And what you're going to notice is a stretch through that inner thigh here. So we're just going to twist, get that little bit of a stretch, see how that feels. I mean, if you start to feel uncomfortable, go out of it, right? This is your practice. This is where we're working through not being in opposition to ourselves. We're working on being in alignment with ourselves and being in what is right here, right now in this moment. Beautiful. Let's kind of come back into that centered feeling. Hands, palms come back down to your mat. Let's curl our back toes under, press it back into that wide stance downward dog again. Check in. How does that feel? Can you pull that belly button nice and high towards that spine? Okay, let's do this on the other side. Left leg lifts. Step it on through. Find that wide set lunge. Drop that back knee. Foot it's nice and wide. Inhale up, and let's begin to poke that tiger a little bit. So we're going to begin to lunge into it. So finding that little bit of a bounce, maybe even massaging out that upper or that lower psoas line a little bit, just checking in with that psoas muscle, becoming very aware of where it is. And let's press back through that left leg just a little bit. Tuck that right pelvis down and under, lifting. Right arm up high towards the sky, and we lift it up and slightly over. Finding that stretch now. Right lower and upper psoas line. Can you feel that stretch? Breathe. So today's practice is really meant to challenge you with being in the moment and challenge you with checking in with yourself and listening to what it is that feels good in your body, right? If the stretch feels like too much, maybe you need to pull out a little bit, right? Removing that opposition, right? Our body tells us what it needs. It tells us when to go and it tells us when to stop, and we have to listen. And sometimes to listen, we need to remove that judgment, that expectation, and really that chatter that comes from that ego mind, that mind that's really there for survival purposes, right? Our ego is really there for a lot of purposes. And a lot of those basic needs come back to survival. Hands come back down. Let's bring our hands around our back. Clasp those hands. Minor chest expansion here. And we're going to press the hands into the left glute this time, rotating open to the right side. Feeling what that feels like on that inner thigh here. Let's breathe. You've got it. Let's rotate back to center, planting those hands back down onto your mat. Step it back, wide stance, downward facing dog. Beautiful. Let's go through one mini flow if it feels good to you. Let's inhale forward into plank. Exhale, crocodile. Inhale, baby cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Wonderful. Let's come on down to all fours. We're going to find our spinal balance, but we're going to take that rotation side to side. So hands are planted underneath our shoulders, our knees are underneath our hips. We're going to extend our left leg up and back. So left leg is up and back extended. We want to check in two hips in one line. We don't want to be lifting one side higher than the other, so two hips in one line. And from this position, let's inhale that leg out to the side, exhale back to center. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Good. Now, you can choose to stay with just the leg or add on that right arm. Right arm comes up forward, and we're going to inhale, right arm out to the right side, left leg out to the left side. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. One more. Good. Now, you get to be your own little fish here and find that own rhythm. How do you swim through the rivers of your life? Right? How does your body like to swim? What movement pattern feels good to your body? And as we're noticing that movement pattern, there's always so much to focus on, right? As you're noticing that rhythmic movement pattern with your breath, I want you to notice any tension that starts building in your body. Where are you feeling the tension? Where are you feeling the extra load being placed? Just simply noticing. We're not judging, we're not changing, we're just noticing. Let's do 2 more. Beautiful. Bring it back down. So by teaching you to do it with just the leg first, what it does is it begins to create that sensation drawing from that core strength versus just drawing it from that leg or that arm. So this time, let's kick that right leg out. Flex that foot. It's right out behind us. Let's inhale it out to the right side. Exhale back. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Good. Option to add on that left arm. Left arm extends out nice and long. And that's inhale, left arm out to the left side, right leg out to the right side. Here we go. Inhale, exhale. Now finding your own breath pattern that works for you. Find that own rhythm. How does it feel to draw that sensation from your core to create this rhythm, these inhales and exhales side to side? Where are those tension patterns beginning to build? Breathing, listening to our bodies. That's our core essence, right? Our core essence. Breathe, listen to your body, noticing, checking in. 2 more. 1 more. Plant that hand, plant that knee, press it back, child's pose, let it go. Right? Sometimes we just need to let it go. Allow those forearms to rest down onto your mat. And just check in. How am I feeling? What did I notice when I was doing my spinal balance? What did I notice in my cat and cow? Can I even remember what happened to my cat and cow? What rhythm and movement feels good in your body? What movement patterns does your body like? What movement patterns does your body dislike? Right? Where do you feel tightness or stiffness within your body? Checking in there, right? These are all the things that we need to know about our body that our body is telling us. And we need to know these because that helps us be in tune, be in the flow of our own lives. Let's inhale forward, bringing our body down onto our mat. So our belly's coming down onto our mat. We're going to plant our hands underneath our chest. So we're coming into a style of Sphinx pose. So shoulders are going to roll back into that spine. We're going to push out of that shoulder joint, pressing out of those elbows, lifting through heart center here. So in our Sphinx pose, we're really beginning to stretch that upper psoas line. Now, I know I've done eye exercises with you a fair amount, but if you haven't had the opportunity to do them, we are going to do them in our Sphinx pose because Sphinx is a nice supported back bend, but it's also a heart opener, a chest opener, and it opens our front chakras really. So that personal power, that solar plexus chakra that comes from right underneath our ribs there, that's what we're opening right now as we're in our Sphinx pose. So we're opening that solar plexus chakra. So from here, we're going to take some eye movement to just really begin to create a parasympathetic response, right? A parasympathetic. So bringing us into that calming, relaxed state versus that sympathetic, that stress state. So we want to come into that calm, relaxed state. And by doing some eye movement, what we can actually do is we can allow ourselves to relax into that parasympathetic state, and we target our vagus nerve. Our vagus nerve is so intertwined within our body in regards to our digestion, our thought processes, so many things, but it also deals so much with that reptilian brain, that fight, flight, response in the body. So we want to really allow that vagus nerve to relax and come into that relaxed state occasionally throughout our day, right? It serves a purpose to be in our sympathetic state, but it also serves a purpose to come into that parasympathetic state. So from here, our eye gaze is forward, our head is forward, our head is in a nice neutral position. We're pressing out of those elbows, using that chest and shoulder strength here. We're going to take our eye gaze without moving our head up and over to the right. So keep looking right. I want you to look over towards that right pinky and just see if you can find a point of focus on the area next to your right of your body. So find a point of focus, keep shifting those eyes off right. Now, what I want you to do is keep looking right until you feel the need to yawn, sigh, or swallow. So even if your eyes keep tracking back forward, keep trying to encourage them to come to the right. Keep going right. Yawn, sigh, or swallow, and then you can bring your eyes back to neutral. It might take a while, so just be patient with your body, listening. But this is part of that listening to the body, checking in with the body. What's going on here? It's okay if your eyes begin to water. Maybe they begin to vibrate or sting a little bit. That's super normal. Take as much time as you need, so feel free to pause this video. Now, if you're still with me and you've yawned, sighed, or swallowed, we are going to go on and do the other side. So neck is still in neutral. This time, take your eyes up and over to the left. So look over that left pinky and try and find something on the left side of your body that you can focus on. So something that's off to the left of your body. So what can you focus on over there without moving your head, right? Head stays neck neutral. Take that eye gaze over. Again, if you feel those eyes tracing back, keep shifting them over to the left until you yawn, sigh, or swallow. Pressing up out of those shoulders, keeping those shoulders strong here. If your body has come back to neutral, you can lower down, lowering your right ear off to the side. If you're still waiting for that eye gaze, please feel free to continue. Take as much time as we need to allow that calming response to take place in the body. The eyes trigger our upper nervous system to begin to relax. Your eye nerves are located right at the base of your skull there, so they help to relax all the muscles in your top vertebrae, and that brings our spine back into alignment. In our upper vertebrae, it allows more blood flow to our frontal lobe of our brain, and we are also creating that calming sensation in our bodies, and that's so, so critical. Wonderful. Let's bring our head, neck, and shoulders back to neutral. Our hands are going to come gently onto the back of our head. So gently means we're not forcing a lot of load onto the back of our head. It's just gentle here. You can place, think of like feather touch. You don't want to be pressing more than you would on a tiny little feather. So we're going to take a nice deep inhale. Everything's going to lift up, and our elbows are going to lift up and back to the sky, creating that chest expansion, that opening through that chest. Lift up, lift back, and hold. This is a version of our locust pose, also known as alligator pose here, with our hands behind our head, lifting up, lift back, hold, breathe. And slowly lower down. Lower that left ear off to the mat this time. Allow those shoulders to come down, relaxing deeply. Let's bring our hands underneath our shoulders. pressing up and back, and let's shift our hips off to one side, bringing them around. Wonderful. Okay. So we're going to have some bent knees here. We're going to go into our boat pose. So I'm going to do it from the side so you can see me. So your legs are out nice in front. We're going to bend our knees. Our hands are going to clasp onto the back of our legs. Our chest and shoulders are going to roll back and down. You can stay here. This is an option, staying exactly right here. You do not have to go any further. Listen to your body. If you're looking for a little bit more sensation, you can begin to lean back a bit. Keeping that chest, shoulders lifted. So chest is lifted, shoulders are back into our spine. If you'd like a little bit more sensation, maybe you float one leg up. Maybe you alternate legs. Maybe you decide to float two legs up. Completely up to you. Once we're in our boat pose, whatever version that looks like, you can also choose to release those hands. Chest stays lifted. We're not rounding through that spine. Keeping that chest lifted. Let's hold. So now, this is where listening to your body becomes so critical, right? Because it's a challenging posture, especially to hold with good form. So what are you doing to listen to your body? What are you doing to maybe come out of it, to ease out of it, to find a little less sensation or a little bit more sensation? What does your body need here in this moment? Find that breath, calming, recentering, coming back and forward. Allow those feet to fall open, knees to relax open. We find our butterfly. Whew. Let's give our butterfly a little bit of a flap here. Flap, 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 flap. Allow those knees to flap. Perfect. So I'm going to turn forward so I can see you. We can flap our butterflies together. Wonderful. So often when we live in a stress state and we live in this constant opposition to listening to our body's needs and what it is that we want or need, we tend to create more stress in our bodies. And you'll notice that a lot of the time when our shoulders start to creep up towards our ears, right? We're creating that almost that rounding forward, that curling forward, right? Because that's that I'm going to be safe. I'm going to protect my heart. I'm going to protect everything in here. Motion. So we're going to work on opening up through this expansion, right? We need that expansion. So let's take one foot over the other. So we come into our half lotus pose. So in half lotus, we're going to inhale, expand those arms out nice and wide. And exhale, we're going to lean forward, crisscross one arm over the other. Give yourself that hug, right? That hug and that compression, because this feels safe. It feels good. Inhale, open, lifting heart center up and back just slightly. Exhale, hug. Same arm over. We're going to do the other side, I promise. So note what arm is on top. Lift and cross. Let's do two more, just like that. Beautiful. Let's walk those hands forward and just stretching out our hip rotators here. So I should have mentioned, if we're in our half lotus and we're finding it really difficult for our body to get into this position, you can always elevate your hips on a yoga block, a bolster, a pillow. You can roll another yoga mat up behind you and sit on it. That just by elevating the hips, we tend to get a little bit more movement through those hips. So I do apologize for not mentioning that sooner. And slowly walk back up and in. Now let's switch sides. This time, left leg or whatever leg you didn't do last time, over top. Should have mentioned that too. That's okay. We're working on being in the here and now. So Here and now, we're going to inhale, expanding, lifting that chest up. Exhale, other arm over as we crisscross forward, round curl forward. Notice how great that feels. Inhale, lift, freeing ourselves. Exhale, loving ourselves, showing ourselves that grace and gratitude. Knowing that we have the power to go as far or as shallow in this breathing, in this expansion and contraction as we want to. We get to choose our own rhythm. Listening to that rhythm that we want to have, listening to our bodies, and practicing just being in alignment with self, being in alignment with what is. Sometimes being in alignment with self just means we're also beginning to relearn who we are. Who are you genuinely, right? We always define ourselves as these external sources in our world, but very, very few times do we ever really begin to notice who is this person on the inside without all of these exterior factors, right? If you strip away everything in your life that is important to you, who are you? Right? What do you like? What do you dislike? What makes you happy? What foods do you like? What smells do you enjoy? Let's do one more. Wonderful. Let's walk those hands forward. And find that little bit of a hip rotator stretch. Wonderful. Walking your hands back. Let's take our left hand out. Our head drops off to the right. We're going to stretch through that head, neck, and shoulders, releasing any tension that may have built up through there. Beautiful. Let's do the other side. Right arm out, left head off to the left. Noticing what that feels like. Stretching. Beautiful. Let's shift our hips off. We'll come into our hero pose, onto our knees, shoulders roll down and back. So if this is uncomfortable, you could sit up onto a yoga block. Some people also like to prop their toes up and sit up nice and tall here. So it is completely up to you how you decide to do this. All right. So we're going to find our Kapota Mudra. Our Kapota Mudra is from Anjali Mudra, right? Our mudra of peace and love. We're going to peel the insides of your hands apart. We find our Kapota Mudra. That's our mudra of a dove, but it's also that mudra of self-acceptance, right? And part of being in what is and part of removing all these obstacles that sometimes we place in front of ourselves and being in opposition with ourselves is beginning to accept ourselves for who we are and how we genuinely feel. And that self-acceptance is so critical. So we're going to just take a moment here. Let's breathe in our Kapota Mudra. Let's find that self-acceptance that we so dearly desire, right? So if you don't currently have that self-acceptance, that self-love that you want, let's imagine what would it be like if I had self-acceptance and self-love? What would that be like? So that future self, what does that feel like? I want you to just begin to visualize that. What does it look like when I love and accept myself right here, right now? Without conditions. What does that feel like? Does it feel like unconditional love? Does it feel like the love that we truly desire? allowing those feelings and that visualization to truly engulf your whole being, and knowing that you are completely worthy of obtaining that and completely able to obtain that too, right? We have that strength, that power inside of us, and we can soar like the dove. We can learn to love ourselves and learn to truly accept ourselves here in this moment, in what is, removing any opposition that stands in our way. We have the strength because we are in control, taking those hands out nice and wide, tucking those thumbs in, bringing our fingers around our thumbs. We find our Nirodhani mudra, our mudra of control. We're going to bring those hands into your center being, palms up, with our mudra of control. And we're going to say soham or I am, completely up to you. We're going to mimic it with our breath. So it's so hum or I am, right? And we have that mudra of control. I am in control. So 3 more. Do you feel that sense of control? Do you feel that empowerment that lies within you, and that you have that strength to say, I am soham. I am in control. I am self-accepting. I am removing any barriers that stand in my way. I am able to persevere and step into the best version of myself. Thank you so much for joining me here in this yoga practice here tonight. The light in me bows, honors, and truly enjoys and cherishes the light in you. Namaste.